This is a Power 98.7 podcast. Now we're talking. Subscribe to Power 98.7 podcasts in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. There's more on power987.co.za.
13 minutes after 2 o'clock, Advocate Johan Steyn on the line. Good afternoon, Advocate. Thanks so much for your time.
Oh, it's great to be with you. Thank you so much. Can I quickly just say I'm a human-centered AI advocate, but I'm not an advocate from a lawyer point of view.
Okay.
Just so our listeners understand. They might call me for legal advice and I can't help them.
All right, got you. So human-centered artificial intelligence advocate.
That's right.
Awesome stuff. I think we should just call you Johan then, if you're okay with that.
I'd prefer that,
Okay.
please.
All right, no problem at all. All right, so let's start off then, Johan, with the issue of AI in customer service. What exactly are we speaking about when we are looking at the artificial intelligence in customer services?
But we have the ability, if we have the right kind of data on our customers, to give them levels of trust that we previously were never able to do. But it depends on our data, whether we use it legally and responsibly. But I must tell you, even if I think of the bank, South African bank, I'm with my own telco, my own insurance company. I know they all use this tech because I helped them implement it. And they still stuck at customer service. So it gives us insights into our human behavioral science and what clients might like. We can look at predicting churn. We can look at predicting client needs in an automated, real-time way. Practically, I still think a lot of organizations are struggling to get it right, but there is a bit of a art of the possible excitement element to it. Practically, I just don't see it a lot happening in our market at the moment.
Why do you think that is? Why are we not seeing it happening in our market?
I think one of the simple reasons is we don't know our customers. And also we don't speak to them. Because we deploy AI and automation and robot kind of chatbot kind of tools, but does it even make a difference to our clients? Do they even want it? Does it answer the questions that they have? What is the typical kind of questions that they ask? I want to give you an example. I worked with a very large organization in the medical field, and they told me, up to 500,000 calls a month from their customers. And they wanted to automate the call center. Now, there's a lot you can do with chatbots, conversational AI, even with ChatGPT, large language models, and the like. But I asked them a question that they never thought about before, and that is, why are you getting so many calls every month? They never considered it, because isn't that the simple, common sense way to start? And what we realize is that when a client signs on, the initial email or documents they receive on how to log a claim, etc., doesn't tell the story. So we created a few explainer videos, we redid the documentation, and the calls dropped by about 40%. This is not an AI solution. This is a common sense solution. So I think to answer your question is that we don't understand what our clients want. We don't consume our own products. I often tell my clients, when last did you phone your call center? When last did you chat to your own chatbot? They never do. And we're answering the wrong questions or the wrong business case with powerful technology. I think that's the reason. It's that simple. It's a business conversation. It's not even a technology conversation. It's almost like in the age of AI, we've become very, very stupid as business leaders, thinking it can solve all of our problems. But it's not as powerful yet as we think it is.
And so, how then, and you say we're not ready, but how then has, the integration of AI in customer service evolved over the past decade?
Yeah. Look, the ability to see trends and to do predictions from the data we have on our customers we've always had it to some extent, but the ability to do it at a scale never thought about before and to do it in real time is really where the current AI platform technologies can help us. So if we, for instance, say you send an SMS or a WhatsApp to 100,000 customers, the way they respond, how quickly they read it, what they do with it, when they respond, what they respond with, you can analyze that data in real time. So you might have a promotion. Say we normally sell this thing at 1,000 rand. For the next hour, it's only 800 rand. But then you can track the behavior of your clients. If not enough people respond, can you in real time, obviously within set perimeters, change that promotion And also look at geographical figures. More people in Limpopo are buying it than in Gauteng. What is the reason for that? More people are responding at night than in the morning because maybe most of them are working or are parents. So you need to build in those different elements around what you want to see from the data, those variables, and then to make decisions in real time. So, what is a great example is Netflix. When you log on to Netflix, I don't know if you've noticed, but the typical movie or series that you are watching at the moment, every time you log on, that picture, we call it a landing card, looks different. It's sometimes a red background, then a blue background, then a different picture. Because Netflix is experimenting with you. And after a while, if you use the platform enough, they realize that you normally watch, for instance, action movies in the morning and romantic comedies at night. You typically click on movies with a red background on the picture, not the blue background. You typically click on a movie that's top left and not top right. So they're experimenting from a human behavioral science point of view. Now, that, we call it hyper-personalized customer service. That is already possible with this technology. But the question comes back to, are we answering the right questions? Maybe our clients don't care whether it's right or red or blue or left or right. What are they actually looking for? So a banking example is maybe, if I go into my banking app and I have 55 items on my menu, it irritates me. Can they not predict why I'm logging on? So typically on the 25th and the 26th of the month, 90% of the reason I log on is to see if my salary's been paid. So just give me 3 or 4 options with maybe an expand option, a little arrow on the menu. But to predict why I'm probably contacting you. If you can see from my spending patterns that I'm suddenly buying nappies and milk, I'm probably a new parent. Give me options relevant to my behavior. And also give me financial options for my child's education. The tech is there. The capability to do this is there. But we are so far attached from our clients and what they really want that we are designing it in the wrong way. And very, very smart people are doing it in the wrong way. And I see it every day in all of the customers that I'm working with.
And when we speak about some of the milestones in development of AI for customer service, are there any, you've spoken about, the issue of Netflix, and, how they have managed to access that space. Which other examples do you have for us, Johan?
Yeah. Look, a lot of some of our local telcos, mobile telcos, are already doing this. And remember, they have more data on us than anyone else. Not even our banks have so much data on us. My mobile phone provider knows where I am because they can track me geographically based on the towers that my phone access. What time of the day I access which platforms I search for, which things on Google on my phone, what kind of applications I've downloaded, and they also can determine who I am associating with, because if somebody on their network and I'm on the same network and we are constantly in the same geography, there's a good chance we're family or friends, we're constantly together. So the amount of things they can predict from who I am as a person is so much more than a bank that typically just see my spending patterns and when I access the banking app and when I go to the branch and the like. So I've seen a lot of interesting predictive analytics, behavioral science-related real-time automation things happening with our telcos. But for most of it, I haven't. I want to just quickly talk about chatbots. Now, I don't know about you. I hate chatbots because they are stupid as grass. Okay, or I can say it in a different way if you weren't on air. But it's just a glorified frequently asked question thing. I mean, the other day, my own bank, again, they're a client of mine, but I'm their client too. I ordered a new debit card, and I logged onto my mobile banking app. So obviously, my identity is verified. They know exactly who I am, and then this thing pops up. Hi, I'm Chippy or Bobby or whatever. They always give these chatbots such a cute name. How can I help you? And I typed in, when will my card be delivered? And it said, typically within 5 to 7 days. Now, that's not answering my question. And then I said, where will my card be delivered? Because I couldn't remember whether it's in Centurion where I live or in Sandton where my branch is. Mm-hmm. And it gave me a link to all their bank branches in Gauteng. Now, again, you didn't answer my question. But you know exactly where I live. You know exactly where I bank. So I've seen it go wrong. So, where I really realized something is wrong. So, I spoke at a conference, and the one person who was a fellow speaker, she manages the chatbot app for this bank. Lovely person. And there's a lot that the chatbot is doing right, but it's very transactional, low-level kind of things like, can I increase my overdraft limit? Or when's my next debit order on XYZ? The chatbot can typically answer that. But I said to her, come and stand here next to me. And I logged on, and I showed her that training to action. When will my card be delivered? And she was shocked that her own product, her own team's product is so stupid. And the reason is she never uses it herself, or her team never uses it as consumers themselves. That they build it, they test it, they AI the heck out of it, and then they don't test it as consumers. That's why I say go back to your consumers. Use your chatbot, your digital assistant, your whatever you want to call it, working for your client. That's the reason. It's not the tech's fault. It's the fact that we are becoming stupid. The smarter AI is becoming, if you just be very blunt. We should still be business people using our brains, whether it's Excel or AI, it doesn't matter.
Do you foresee that AI could cause some problems for most businesses? I mean, just from what you've said, there are certain chatbots that are not responding to any questions. Do you foresee that it could cause problems for some businesses in South Africa as it develops?
Absolutely. Look, what if the chatbot gives the wrong answers to your customer? That causes damage, because now we're talking here about a potential legal challenge. The challenge around that is that there's very little case law or regulation around chatbots and automation, automated decisioning systems, AI systems. If I ask financial advice and the chatbot gives me the wrong answer and I lose money because of that, I think that's maybe why the banks are a bit wary about. Also, it's a highly regulated environment, but wary about using some of this tech. But what if it also is bias? Now, bias is such a massive topic because, as humans, we all have biases. It's human nature. It could be against gender biases, it could be racial biases, it could be many things. As long as we're aware of it. So I'll give you an example, then I'll come back to answering your question. And I'm going to be very honest with you, and I'm not ashamed about this at all. The other day I was flying back from Cape Town, and before you take off, the pilots will come onto the speaker thingy and welcome you and whatever. And I realized both the pilot and the co-pilot were women. I got worried. And immediately I said to myself, what? I thought I'm a pretty liberal, educated kind of a person, but at least luckily I picked it up immediately, because that's a bias that comes from how I grew up, how women were treated when I grew up, the place of your mother in your home, etc., etc. That's one example. But it could be racial as well. But now the team who develops these platforms in your business will probably build those same biases in it. Like, if it's an automated credit system, for instance, or even more scary, a hospital system that decides who can see the doctor first when your child is very sick 2 o'clock in the morning, but you're the wrong gender, the wrong ethnicity, you live on the wrong side of the tracks. The way it's built, it will actually not serve that client. In fact, it will cause harm. That's where these things can go wrong. And that's why I say, if you're a business leader, test your own product, consume it. If you're a bank executive, go stand in the queue at the bank on a Saturday morning once a month to see what normal people experience. Chat to your own chatbot, call your own contact center. And maybe I'll just conclude with this. I was a bit gutsy a little while back. One of the other banks that I deal with, their retail banking leadership team invited me to speak to them about AI and retail banking and automation. And there are so many amazing use cases. But I tested their contact center before the meeting. So when I walked in, just before the meeting started, I said, everyone, can I quickly just make a call? They said, no, it's okay. So I phoned this bank who I'm meeting with. I phoned their contact center and I put my phone on speaker. And I said, we can start the meeting when your bank answers my call. We waited 45 minutes. So the meeting didn't happen. But they didn't realize there was a problem because they never phoned their own contact center. So it's just, this tech can be amazing, but let's just have common sense. Make sure it serves our clients and our internal people, and test it every now and then that it works. It's not that stupid. Even if the end of your title says MBA, you can still just have common sense and test these platforms.
Sure, indeed. Just still do the work, I suppose, right?
Don't be lazy. AI will not replace leadership.
And it won't replace the human being, Johan.
Absolutely.
In conversation with Johan Steyn, artificial intelligence expert. He's a human-centered artificial intelligence advocate. No legal questions, please, for Johan. If you'd like to get in touch with us, that number to dial 0861-987-000 as we unpack AI in customer service. But of course, unpacking AI, typically it's a very important conversation for us to have in South Africa at the moment. We'll continue our conversation with Johan after news headlines. It is 14:28 and coming up, Nyaka Lotefu will be updating us as to what's happening in the news. Do give us a call, 0861-987-000. Questions, comments that you may need Johan to clarify, or questions that you need to ask him. More than welcome to give us a call, or of course drop us an X at PowerFM 987 at Tshego Moagi _.
When news happens, we break it. All the news you need to know. Power 98.7. Now we're talking.
14:35 on Power 98.7. It is, of course, Power Lunch, and we are in conversation with Johan Steyn, who is a human-centered artificial intelligence advocate, speaking to us about AI in customer service. So, Johan, let's then slightly shift gears. When it does come to AI, when we talk about enhancing customer experience, you've spoken about how, some of the people or some of the chatbots really don't work, or when you're calling somebody, you're hoping that it will be picked up, but it doesn't get picked up. And I'm then wondering, how can the interactions be improved for overall satisfaction from each person when it comes to artificial intelligence?
It's back to, what do our clients really want? What will help them? Look, I know we just previously spoke about how bad chatbots can be, but when it's very low-level transactional stuff, I don't want to hold on to a contact center agent. I just want to quickly ask a question. Can I increase my credit limit? Can I have this order delivered 2 days later? Those kind of things, personally, I'm quite happy with just chatting to a chatbot. But when I need advice, when I need that human-to-human interaction, I want a empowered and a smart contact center agent with kindness and empathy to help me. So, we can't just force clients to use a chatbot. I mean, even my own internet service provider here at my house, they only have a WhatsApp chatbot. You can't speak to a human. And when my internet is down, because I work primarily from home, it's almost like walking to your car before you go to the office in the morning and both your tires or all the tires are slashed. I can't work. But then I chat to this chatbot, this WhatsApp thing, and it irritates me because it doesn't understand what I need. I just want a human. So I would, as a consumer, would like to have the option of chatting to a bot or a human at the beginning of the call. Now, I don't also that necessarily want me to speak to a human because it increases their costs. They need to employ more contact center agents, human agents. They typically want me to use the chatbot, but then just make sure the thing works and test it. And what I hate, and I don't know if you've experienced this, I would speak to a chatbot for an hour, and then finally it will say, I clearly can see I can't help you, I'm going to put you through to a human. And then when that human answers the call, they say, what can I help you with? And then I think, I've just been chatting for an hour about my problem. What do you mean, what can you help me with? So that poor contact center agent, they on their screen, and this is possible with technology, they should already see a summary of the conversation and how they can help me. So I often feel quite bad for contact center agents. I mean, it's a horrible job. You need to make 500 calls a day, inbound, outbound, and so forth. So you use technology where it makes sense, but don't underestimate the human-to-human empathy-infused, understanding-infused conversation. But you won't know it if you don't speak to your customers. I would ask you.
I'm going to request, Johan, that you just shift around a little bit for us. Okay. Your line is just giving us a bit of problems. But, when you speak about making sure that you speak to the customer to ensure that it is what they want and it's something, and don't underestimate the human-to-human interaction. what are some of the AI technologies then that companies can think about to reduce those response times, but also to be effective, in the kind of response that you're getting, so that you don't also get a situation where you're asking, where am I collecting this particular thing? And it gives you various locations.
Yes, hopefully the audio is a bit better now.
Much better, thank you.
Unplugged my headset.
Much
We're talking about AI and I can't even get my basic technology to work. Yeah, look, it is, if you're my bank or my telco or my insurance company or other providers, there's a lot about me that you already know from my data, my interactions, the products I have with you. So have some sort of predictive capabilities on why I'm probably calling you. And that'll help that contact center agent or that customer facing person to solve my problem quicker. Now and then I might have a problem that is not easy to predict. But I mean, if I, for instance, just taken out a new medical aid scheme, there's a good chance I don't know how to claim or who to contact or where to send the claim. You can anticipate that question. So before I even phone you, you can say which of these three more accurately describes why you're contacting us, and it quickly answers my question. A good example I use, and again, I want to go back to what I call hyper-personalization, is, and maybe a bit of a silly example, but if I every week, once or twice, go to the same restaurant, which I do because I work from home, so I go to the same coffee shop once or twice a week, sit and work there because I get a bit irritated in my house. I order the same kind of cappuccino, I order the same kind of breakfast, and if they can harvest that data, and now if I log on in this coffee shop, do have an app where I can log on, they can determine what I'm asking for. So I might ask them on the app, are you open on Thursday, which might be a public holiday? And are you open at 7 like you normally are, or only later because it's a public holiday? It should understand the context behind why I'm asking it. And then it might say that, yes, we open at 8, not at 7. And we know you normally walk in around 7:10, and you normally request a cappuccino. Would you like us to have your cappuccino ready for you when you come in on Wednesday? And by the way, given on your history of what you typically order, here are some new meals that we've prepared that will probably suit your taste. It's an answer that's specific to me. It's hyper-personalized. And I think we're asking and answering the wrong questions. People are busy. They want things to be answered quickly, but they also need their service providers to have the context of why they are probably contacting them. I just think bad customer service is no longer an excuse. I mean, I just saw in the news over the last 2 weeks that our largest banks are spending up to 25 billion rand a year on technology. But then you phone their contact center or you speak to their app, like I just explained earlier, and it's absolutely nonsense. Now, then I'm wondering, what are they spending that money on? Just because we call it AI or digitization, it doesn't mean it's actually helping our clients. So, unless you know from your customers, and also I don't want, at the end of a call, they say, just hold on to rate my call. I never do that. Because even if I rate my experience as totally bad, nothing ever happens. No one calls me back. The service doesn't improve. I just drop the call. I think we are so disconnected from our day-to-day clients and what they experience. We're making technology and AI decisions on what consultants and vendors and big technology companies tell us. And it's a much more simple than that. But unless you get your hands dirty in the kind of ground of where the action is happening as an executive, you will solve the wrong problems. That's the biggest thing I see. Sadly so. Stand in the queue in the bank, phone your own contact center, consume your own products, chat to your own chatbot. I know almost no executive of a big organization that's doing that. AI will not answer the question of laziness. That's the problem.
True, very true. There's also the role, of course, Johan, of natural language processing. What kind of role does that processing play in enabling AI systems to understand and respond to customer inquiries?
That's a great question. I think the problem I have as a consumer is I can't always tell my provider what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell them what the symptoms are, like my internet is not working. Now, I don't know if it's the telecom line, whether it's the router, whether it's load shedding in the area or whatever. Same with my banks, my insurance, my medical providers. But so I use language, whether it's on a call or whether it's typing it on a chatbot, to explain the symptoms that I'm experiencing. Now, natural language processing has the ability to take that language that I'm entering and to understand the contextual or the most probable contextual meaning around it to provide me with the right solution much quicker. So there's a lot of power behind it. I mean, if you use ChatGPT or Google's Gemini, you are using natural language processing. If you are using voice transcription, I mean, I often do it in meetings. I record the meeting with my client's permission. I pump it into a platform that transcribes it for me, that gives me a meeting summary. I mean, Microsoft Teams does it. Microsoft Copilot is doing it. That technology is really there. The challenge we have in the global south, so-called, as opposed to the global north, because most of the platforms out there are Northern American, European, Chinese even. How do we accommodate our various languages in South Africa or even in Africa? We have up to 3,000 different languages and dialects in Africa. Very, very few of those languages are accommodated for when it comes to AI, natural language processing platforms. Now, there are organizations, even here in South Africa, the University of Pretoria, the CSIR, and others that are creating those data sets from scratch because it doesn't exist. But it comes back to that consumer, that client. If I'm a Zulu speaker or Xhosa speaker or Afrikaans speaker, why can I not speak to the AI in my language? Why must it be English or French or Portuguese? Almost like AI is like a post-colonial world when it comes to language technologies. We need to do a lot more. What if English is my third or fourth language and I have an urgent emergency medically or with my finances? How do I interact with my bank if I'm not good in English myself? So the language capabilities are amazing, but it's highly underrepresented in our continent. And we all as Africans need to do a lot more for the future of our children to get that right and to do better.
Let's take a call from Boniswa in Tembisa. I love that point that you've made. Why can't we contact and speak to these AI in my own language? That's an important point that you make indeed. Boniswa, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Love the conversation.
Thank you.
So as you're speaking about language, it actually just made me think as a language educator, when you speak to kids, it's actually like AI. You need to figure out different languages. There's different codes that you use to speak to the learners. You can use 3-4 languages in like one lesson to communicate the same thing, because the customer, the client, they have different ways of understanding what you're saying. And also I had friends who work for an insurance company, and what I learned from them in terms of inputting language into an app is their job is to basically predict as many options as possible that customers could use. So like the slang, if someone, is making a joke, they have like quickie responses. So essentially what they're hired to do as an entire department is to do a copy of the customer feedback of the app. And then what they do is input as much options as possible so that whoever interacts with the app or the insurance company, they can get like a good user experience. So what they do is help the design people facilitate the machine learning and the coding and the wording, so that whoever interacts with it. And I understand why it costs a lot. When you mentioned the amount, I was like, that's a lot of money. But I think they do. And I think the trick is just finding people who know how to do copyright, because the people who design something, they'll do the system, and then someone just has to remember the customer and be able to add, those words and stuff. So after I learned that, I actually implemented that in my classes. It's actually quite useful. Kids are on like AI on their own.
Yeah, interesting. Thanks for that, Boniswa. Very
Sure.
interesting. Boniswa in Tembisa. An interesting point that she makes there, Johan, that people are being hired to improve the ratings, I suppose, in particular companies.
Look, I love what she said because it comes back to, again, hyper-personalization. If I've seen chatbots, or we talk more actually about conversational AI these days. We also refer to natural language processing in contact centers that is so accurately designed to the specific person calling, because they know when I'm called my home language, my ethnicity, where I live, and my age and all the like. So, I've seen chatbots that will answer the call with, yo, dude, how's it hanging? And that's exactly what that person wanted to hear because of their age, potentially. But don't do that to a 70-year-old investor at a bank, for instance. So it won't go down well.
Yeah.
But then also, I've even seen some of these platforms and are like we do as humans naturally when we chat to each other. Or when you make a comment to make a bit of a snicker, a bit of a laugh. It's almost impossible to realize you're not speaking to a human. And that's a bit scary. There's a whole other ethical conversation around that. But we use certain terms and certain slang, depending on our age, again, depending on our home language, that most of these platforms don't understand because, again, they developed in America or in Europe. And we have to, and I think this caller referred to it, we've got internal teams that's working on those language platforms to understand how certain ethnicities or home languages and age groups speak. It's very important, again, if you want to solve my problem, but maybe my skills in English or maybe my pronunciation or my accent is difficult to pick up, then that conversational AI platform is not going to be able to help me. I mean, look at the youngsters the last few years, even the way they WhatsApp. I mean, it's great is like a GR and 8, and then there's a cucumber, and then there's a pineapple and something. It's a language they understand. I have no idea what they're saying. But you can program the platform to pick that up if it's a 16-year-old calling you or WhatsApping your chatbot. You won't know it if you're not close, again, to your customers. And you have to test it with your customers. If it's a bunch of 16-year-olds that's going to contact you for whatever you're providing, test it with them. You can't be too formal with them. But I do think not just adapting to our nuances regarding age, etc., but especially our own languages. And look, I don't speak African languages. I'm very sorry about that because I've tried to learn it for a book. I realize unless I speak to people every day, I won't learn Zulu. But my friends who are Zulu and Xhosa, and you will identify with this, there are subtle nuances in how certain things are being said in different languages or even different areas in the country that could be super offensive or totally misunderstood. And that's why you can't just copy and paste like a data set of Zulu language into the AI. Where's the person calling from? What's their age? What are they meaning through that slang or that specific way of saying something? The ability to train those models are there. I just don't think organizations are doing enough. Maybe the market's not big enough for them to do it. Maybe they just want to stick with English because it's cheaper. But it's sad. We deserve better as Africans.
There are, of course, a lot of nuances and things that we need to, of course, keep in mind as well when it does come to AI. In conversation with Johan Steyn, human-centered artificial intelligence advocate, speaking to us about AI in customer service. And we'll wrap up our conversation shortly with Johan.
This is your world. Power 98.7. Now we're talking.
And Johan, if you can just briefly answer this, there may be some concerns from people regarding safety. How safe is, or privacy concerns? How can that be, mitigated and ensuring that one's privacy is definitely protected?
Yeah, that is such an important question. And it's about the way companies use these platforms and how they abide to the law. In South Africa, we have our own privacy in the form of POPIA, Protection of Private Information Act. In Europe, we have got GDPR and others across the world. But, it's one thing to have these regulations. The other thing is to enact it. We have had major privacy data breaches over the last few years. Perhaps TransUnion is the biggest example, but we've seen it with Diskin and Transnet and others where the personal detail of customers were hacked or lost. And we've not seen anyone being prosecuted for it yet. So I don't even know if when we have AI regulation, whether the government agencies will be able to prosecute them for this. I think we should also use our common sense in what we share with, whether it's a human in a contact center or in a branch or a chatbot. Like, when I get a cold call from a new insurance company, whatever, and the first thing they ask me is just to confirm my ID number. I never do that because they should not have to know that. Why the heck are they calling me? So you also use your common sense. Be careful with the information you share. Any information that can identify you, whether it's your address, the names of your siblings, your employer, etc., unless it's absolutely necessary, unless it's from an organization like your own bank or somebody you really trust, don't share it. And here I also want to bring in the danger toward our children. Our children are using a lot of mobile devices more and more with its games, different chatbots. I mean, half the time I don't even know what my son is doing on his iPad, although I must say I do have some really good protection mechanisms built in there. I want to give you an example. He was, I've got a Google Home speaker. It's a smart speaker. Amazon's got the same and others. So you can speak to it. You can say, hey Google, play me a song by Coldplay, or hey Google, what's the weather like today? And I know it's going to sound funny, but I actually encourage him to cheat on his homework with the AI speaker, because he's learning all this repetitive nonsense that we learn in schools. But he can ask, I'd rather him be technically digitally astute than memorizing the stuff they're learning in school. So he will say, hey Google, how do I spell chameleon? And then they will tell him and write it down. But one day he was working with this app that tells stories to him as a kid. And the app started asking him, what's his father's name? What's his address? What school does he go to? And I had a freak out moment. I killed that app immediately. And I had to teach him that there's certain, and I know they learn about stranger danger. I mean, if a stranger walks up to him in the street and asks those things, he will probably run away. But they tend to trust technology because it's neutral. So we also need to teach our children and people around us about what can we share and what can we not share, what links to click on from potentially spam and dangerous emails. But I think the question you're asking is relevant. The more we digitize, the more we AI, the more we chatbot, the more empowered these systems are to use information that they should not ask us to cause damage to us. Deep fakes is another big topic here. I don't know if you've seen some of these ads on YouTube. It looks like a SABC news reader. It looks exactly like that. Promoting an Elon Musk thing. It's clearly not them. And the problem with deepfakes is that these days the technology is so powerful, it doesn't look fake. It looks like that real person. So we need to educate ourselves and our children about just, again, being smart and not trusting these platforms too much. But I trust my bank's chatbot, my telco's chatbot, to protect my private information. Whether they do, I'm not always sure. I just hope so.
I want to take a quick call from Dakalo in Pretoria. Dakalo, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to ask your guest in relation to the governance of AI, more specifically in South Africa. I think he has already touched in terms of POPI as well. But also what I wanted to ask was, why as South Africans are we not able to use AI predictive analysis in terms of servicing our power station that we're always breaking down? And also lastly, I wanted just to find out in terms of the motor industry. Are we using AI in the motor industry, and how is it improving motor industry sales? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Dakalo in Pretoria. Johan, in 30 seconds, literally, we need to go to news.
Okay, certainly. Look, I can't answer all the questions. They're great questions, though. Perhaps the best we've seen so far is in the European Union, the EU's AI Act, that was enacted into law on the 1st of August. There's a lot in that law that will probably apply in South Africa and other countries. So government is doing a lot in our country to also get a regulatory framework for AI with a number of organizations and industry leaders, which is encouraging. So we've got COPPEA for privacy, but we need technology regulations when it comes to the power of this technology. It's very, very important. I missed the last part of his question. I don't know if we have time for that, but that's a very important question he just asked.
Yeah, I think it's something that we can pick up on next time we speak to you, Johan. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a lovely day. Johan Steyn there speaking to us about artificial intelligence in customer service. And that's how we wrap up the show this afternoon. Thanks to Alex, our content producer, and also Spiwe, our technical producer. Thanks to you, of course, Power Family, for the love once again, the calls and the X's as well. I hope you have a fabulous afternoon. Remember to be kind and to protect your peace. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to a Power 98.7 podcast. For more podcasts, visit power987.co.za or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.